What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. Thank you for clicking on this video. This was a fun hunt that myself, my dad, and my brother-in-law all went on together. And it's on a piece of property that my brother-in-law, I think he leases this particular place for cows. But anyway, the place has just been getting torn up with hogs. I mean, absolutely worn out. And what was happening was my brother-in-law would drive out and feed the cows. Right after the cows would get done feeding and move out, the hogs were right in there in the mix of it. So it's extremely frustrating that the pigs are coming in there and tearing things up, but it makes it even worse whenever they're coming in taking food that's not theirs, and they are good at that. So we decided that we were going to come in and do a little bit of hog control, as crazy as that sounds. I know it's a difficult task, no doubt, but we went in and tried to do our absolute best. We pulled up to the gate of the property, and we had a long ways to walk in. But as soon as we jumped out of the truck, we started scanning and looking around and seeing if we could see any hogs. And by the time we got to the end of the road, my brother-in-law, Zane, he taps me on the back of the shoulder and he says, "Hey, this is where these pigs have been at, and this is where they've been hanging out quite a bit." We said, "We feed the cows right there over there on the other side of the road. So let's just kind of keep an eye out for them, and you know, keep our ears turned up just a notch, just in case we hear something or hear the hogs or whatever." And so I said, okay, and we went, I don't know, another 15 yards up the road, and all of a sudden we start hearing hogs. Now, we heard them on the right side of the road, and we start pushing in towards them. I don't know how many hogs there were for sure in total, but there was a bunch. Now, I've gotten into some big groups of hogs before, but I think this goes up there in the top 10 for numbers of hogs that were in this group that I've ever walked up on before in my life. There was a bunch of hogs, and there was a lot of piglets too. And so we start creeping in, and we get right in the mix of them. And it was difficult for us because we're rifle hunting, and as a matter of fact, I didn't even take a gun other than my pistol that I carry on my hip every day. I was just playing cameraman. So my dad and my brother-in-law both have their guns, and they stay behind me most of the way, and the stuff that we were walking through was just nasty. I mean, it was like swamp, and there were cedars all around us, and the reason why it was so swampy and so nasty was because of the recent rains that we had just gotten. And so we kept pushing, and I got us right up in the middle of them 2 or 3 different times. And when I say in the middle of them, I'm talking like we had hogs within 10 yards that were feeding around us. We just couldn't see them. We could hear them, but we couldn't see them. And the problem that we were facing, and I mention it in some of these clips later in the video that you guys will see, part of the issue that we were running into was that the wind would swirl when we were inside of this thick brush. It'd come in and it would hit at a right angle, just perfect for us. And it was a good wind if you weren't standing in the brush, but it would come in and hit, and then it would just swirl right around. And so the first 2 times that we got in on the middle of them, they would catch our wind, and one of them, usually it would just be one, they would catch our wind and then they'd take off running, and so we'd have to continue the chase. I think we got in the middle of them twice, got busted twice, and then the third time I managed to put us in the middle of this group once again, and the whole group just kind of started to surround us. Luckily enough for us, at the third time I caught up to them, we were in an open area, or a fairly open area considering what we were walking through, and they just kind of started feeding down around the sides of us. And I wouldn't say that made it difficult. That gave us opportunities for shots, but the sounder just kind of started to circle us. So as we come into this clearing, I kind of push to the left because I hear the majority of them off to the left in this little horseshoe shaped clearing. And so I eased that way. My dad and my brother-in-law are standing right behind me and to my right. Well, I say right behind me. They're probably 20 yards, 15, 20 yards behind me and to my right. And so we just kind of accidentally split. Now, I moved up and I was trying to get as close as I possibly could to him because I was trying to see him. I mean, we were hearing them. They were so loud. And you guys will hear that in the video that I play for you. Now, I keep inching and keep inching and keep inching because at the base of the cedar, there's some trails that are cutting through there. I can see these hogs moving back and forth, but they're not stopping in that little opening for me. Well, I've never been afraid of hogs. I've never been scared of them or anything like that. I've been charged more times than I can count. I'm not scared of them, but I have a respect for them. So you have to understand that if you invade their privacy, and that goes for any sort of animal, really, any sort of wild animal, that is. If you invade their privacy and you get in the mix of them and there's a sow with some piglets or there's a big boar that, you know, thinks that he's ready to fight, well, you have to be prepared for that. And so it's not a scary situation. You just have to have a respect for him. So as I move in on him, I see this boar come slipping out. I'm like, okay, well, he's 10 yards from me, 10, 15 yards, something like that. I can hear him growling. I can hear him rooting up the ground. There's multiple other hogs that are starting to get around us. Somebody has to make a move. So I pull my pistol out, and I don't know if you guys hear me unholster and basically draw and hold my gun, but I unholster and I hold right here for a minute, and I'm looking and I'm looking and I'm looking. And the reason why I didn't bring a gun is because I wanted my dad and my brother-in-law to shoot the hogs, and I was just going to be there to film. So I held my gun. I was watching this one pig, and he kind of moves back off into the brush, so I reholster. And so I'm just waiting, and I'm still filming. And I had actually one point in time, and I didn't catch it on video because I just had my one camera, but and also because it was dark. But at one point, I turn around and I look at my dad and my brother-in-law, and I wave them. I'm trying to get them to come up towards me, and they didn't move. And I don't know if it's because they didn't see me or what the problem was, but I was trying to get them to move up and get on, basically either on my right hip or my left hip, get on the sides of me and look at these hogs that were in this little channel that I had right in front of me. And I guess that they didn't see me, or they were looking at some other hogs that were off to their right, or whatever the situation was. Well, this hog comes back out again, and the second time he comes out, he's just a little bit too close for comfort. So I just go ahead and pull my pistol out, and I one hand shot him. And you hear my brother-in-law say it. It's like I'm shooting all gangster style. Did y'all see me leaning out?
Yeah. You saw gangster.
I didn't have a choice. I had to get up underneath there. But I didn't have a choice, so I had to crouch down and see below the main part of the bush of this cedar to get a shot. So I'm holding my pistol sideways, and I'm kind of looking like this and looking, and finally, you know, as he moves out, I can see his head, and I'm like, all right, just hang on right there. Let's go get back on him.
What did you weigh, Brett?
125, 150.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Mad.
Hey, that ran by, he was bigger than that.
Yeah, he was. Did y'all see me leaning out?
Yeah, you saw gangster.
I didn't have a choice. I had to get up underneath there. I
did not know it was that muddy back here.
Yeah, I wanted y'all to stay close to me because this one started feeding back, and there was another one that fed back, and I was hoping that multiple would come back, but y'all were way back here, and by the time y'all got to me, they would have heard us because I shot him at like 15 yards.
Yeah, he was close. We seen him stick his head out.
Yeah. But if we keep putting pressure on them, they're going to keep heading towards that field or towards that tank. And eventually we're going to get them out in the wide open. We just got to stay on top of them. What's happening is we're getting in here and the wind is swirling. And they're picking us up and then they're hauling butt. So if we can just keep pushing them, we'll eventually get them out of this junk. Or they'll...
It's pretty thick in here.
How's the easiest way to get out of this stuff
We're
without
just
going through the bog?
We're just going to keep going this way.
Okay.
And keep getting on top of them. If they're still around. Hopefully they're not running, but...
They didn't run very fast.
No. They don't know what's going on. So it was super cool, and it was totally unexpected. And where I had the camera positioned, I didn't get the shot fully. There was that one cedar limb that was in the way, but I wanted to share this footage with you guys anyway because I just thought it was really neat. I don't ever do any gun hunting on this channel, and I don't intend to. I prefer to bow hunt so much, and you guys love watching the bow hunting so much, and so that's just what I stick to. Furthermore, YouTube doesn't really prefer the whole rifle hunting type of deal, and so I just try to steer clear of that and obey the rules. That's what I try to do. I like to be a law-abiding citizen, including here on YouTube, and so I stick to the bow hunting. But this was just one of those rare occasions where I happened to go out with my dad and my brother-in-law, and we just went for it. We took the rifles out, and it was a blast. It really was so much fun, and I enjoyed it, even though I wasn't intending on shooting myself. I flat out enjoyed it, and it was so much fun. And like I said, I was just fully intending and fully planning on just running the camera and trying to get some really great footage for you guys, and it worked out the way that it did. I ended up having to shoot that hog because they were just right on top of us and moving in even closer, and so we had to make a move there, and I ended up shooting that hog. And like, I know that it wasn't the greatest, I know that I mentioned that, but again, it was just one of those hunts that I'll remember for a long time, because we got in the mix of those hunts, we got in the mix of those hogs, and it was just cool. It was a great experience, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. It's always fun to go after these hogs with a particular weapon, or yeah, I guess weapon's a good word for it. It's always fun to go after these hogs with a particular weapon that you normally wouldn't go out with, and I carry every day. I've got my license to carry, and I just had it on me because we were going out, and it was cool the way that it turned out. I wish that my dad or my brother-in-law would have been able to get a shot off on one of those hogs safely, and that we would have been able to take out more than what we did. But that one, I think, sufficed for the evening. We pushed those hogs a long ways, and we tried catching back up to him, and we couldn't even hear him. So hopefully we pushed him out of the area for a little while, and I'm sure that we'll end up having to go back in there and get after him again. But that's good news for you guys, and good news for me, I guess, in the aspect of that I get to shoot some hogs. But hopefully they won't be back anytime soon. They won't be a threat or a danger to the cattle and the feed and everything else. And so that's the main goal, obviously, is to keep them off the feed and the cattle and everything like that. But they're a lot of fun to hunt, I will say. I will be back to the regularly scheduled bow hunts before you guys know it. I've got another video that I'm excited to share with you guys, and then I've got another one that is going to blow y'all's mind. If you follow me on Instagram, you already know what I'm talking about. I've got an it's not old, it's new, but it's a old style per se. It's a obsidian or a flint broadhead. It's 125 grains, and it was knapped by hand, I assume, but it's made out of flint, and it is fastened to an insert that will screw into my arrow. It is safe to bow hunt with, according to the package, and I have tested it, and you guys will see that in an upcoming video. I'm pumped about it, and like I said, if you follow me on Instagram, you have seen the broadhead that I'm talking about. Don't miss that video. If you don't follow me on Instagram, I would advise doing so. Just link down in the description below. Yeah, I think that's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. I know that wasn't the greatest footage in the world, but hey, it is a hog hunt, and it was fun. It was cool. And I promise my bow hunt's way better. And if you haven't seen any of those, go take a look at some of those and check them out. You guys will love them. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you very, very much. Stay healthy, and I will catch you guys here in about a solid 2 days. 2 days I'll have another video edited and up for you guys. See you then.